He said he was going on a business trip, but he never came back. Days later, I saw him with her, a girl half his age. He left everything behind for her, but life had a surprise waiting. When he saw what I had done, he collapsed in shock. Before I take you through the craziest chapter of my life, make sure you like this video, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the kind of real stories people only whisper about. Now, here's how it all started. I used to think we had the kind of love that people dreamed about, the kind that feels safe, soft, and familiar. I'm a proud black woman, raised to work hard, stay loyal, and love even harder. I gave everything to our marriage. Nearly 10 years of my life, 10 years of cooking his favorite meals, celebrating his little wins, and praying over us every night. I wasn't perfect, but I was present. Always. Our life looked good from the outside, and for a long time it was good. We had this cozy little house on the east side, nothing fancy, but it felt like home. We had our silly inside jokes, like how he'd call me Queen of Overthinking whenever I double-checked if the door was locked, or how I'd tease him for never knowing where he left his keys. Sundays were our thing. We'd cook together, blast old school R&B, and just talk about everything. Our childhoods, our dreams, even baby names. We had a list tucked in my journal, names we picked for the kids we knew we'd have one day. Back then, I really believed we were building something unbreakable, but life doesn't always scream when it starts to shift. Sometimes it just whispers. And at first, that's all it was, a whisper. He started coming home a little later than usual, said work was crazy. I believed him. Then he started bringing his phone to the bathroom, to the dinner table, even kept it face down when we watched movies. I noticed, of course I did, but I didn't want to seem paranoid, so I kept brushing those feelings off, telling myself, he's tired, he's stressed, he'll come around. What I didn't say out loud was that I missed him, not just physically, but emotionally. The way he used to lean into me during late-night talks, or how his eyes used to light up when I walked into the room, that had started to fade. Slowly, like someone dimming the lights in a room you're still sitting in. And no matter how hard I tried to reach him, it felt like he was slipping further away. I remember one night in particular. I had made his favorite dinner, smothered chicken, mac and cheese, greens. He barely touched it, just sat there, scrolling on his phone like he was somewhere else. I asked how his day was, and he gave me a one-word answer. Fine. That's it. And just like that, the silence at that table felt heavier than any argument we'd ever had. Looking back, I think a part of me knew. I just wasn't ready to face it. I held on to what we used to be, hoping that somehow it would bring him back. But love can't survive on memories alone. And the man I once knew, the man I built a life with, he was changing right in front of me, quietly, slowly. And I was just beginning to understand how far gone he really was. The first real crack in the glass came on an ordinary Tuesday. I was cleaning out his car, something I did every now and then just to keep things tidy. Under the passenger seat, tucked into the corner like it was hiding, was a lipstick. Not mine. Wrong brand, wrong color, wrong everything. It was this soft pink shade, something I would never wear. My heart didn't just sink, it froze. I just stared at it for a minute, hoping I was wrong. But deep down, I knew. That wasn't mine. When I asked him about it, I tried to sound casual. Hey, found this in your car. Any idea who it belongs to? He looked at it, shrugged, and said, Probably one of your friends. I told him none of my friends had been in his car. His response? You're overthinking again. He laughed it off like I was just being dramatic. That word, overthinking, he used it like a shield. Like it was my fault for noticing things that didn't add up. After that, things only got worse. He started guarding his phone like it held national secrets. The screen would always be facing down, notifications would pop up, and he'd snatch it like it was about to explode. I'd ask simple questions. Who was that? and suddenly I was being insecure. He was there, physically, but it felt like his mind and heart had already checked out. I'd sit next to him, talk to him, try to hold his hand, and he'd flinch like I was bothering him. That hurt more than I can explain. It wasn't just about the lipstick anymore, it was about the growing silence, the coldness in his eyes, and how I was slowly becoming a stranger in my own marriage. One morning, he told me he had to travel out of town for a work conference, said it would be 3, maybe 4 days max. I nodded, told him to be safe, packed him a few things, and even slipped a little note in his bag like I used to do back when we first got married. Just a simple, "I love you, come back to me." At the time, I meant it with everything I had, but something about the way he left felt final. He didn't kiss me goodbye, no warmth in his voice, just, "I'll call you later." That call never came. The first day, I told myself he was probably busy. Second day, I started to worry. By the third day, I was pacing. Texts went unanswered, calls went straight to voicemail. I felt something deep in my gut. He wasn't where he said he'd be. I logged into our shared credit card account and looked at the recent transactions. My stomach turned. He wasn't out of town. In fact, he hadn't left the city at all. The charges were local: restaurants, a hotel not even 20 minutes from our house, and one receipt from a boutique I'd never heard of. That one stung. I sat in silence for hours, staring at the screen, trying to convince myself there was some innocent explanation. But I knew. My husband didn't just forget to call. He didn't get caught up in work. He lied. He disappeared into another life while I was home, still believing in the one we built together. That was the moment my denial started to crack. I wasn't just losing my husband. I was losing the version of my life I thought was real. And I had no idea what I'd uncover next. I didn't sleep that night. My mind kept spinning with questions I didn't want the answers to. I stared at that hotel name over and over again on the screen. Eventually, I grabbed my keys and drove there. I told myself I just needed to see. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, I already knew what I was about to find. I parked across the street and waited. I didn't even know what I was hoping for. Maybe I wanted to catch him alone so I could convince myself it was work-related. But what I saw next shattered every last piece of hope I had left. He came out of the hotel holding hands with a girl. No, a girl, not a woman. She looked barely out of college, maybe 20, 21 at most. Long hair, tight dress, laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. And there he was, smiling at her in a way I hadn't seen in years, like she was his entire world. I sat frozen in my car, watching the man I had built my life with kiss someone who could have been his daughter. My chest burned, but no tears came. Not yet. It was like my body couldn't even process the betrayal. I didn't confront him. I couldn't. Not in that moment. I just drove home in silence. The kind of silence that screams louder than words ever could. I curled up on our bed, the same bed he and I used to dream in, and I realized that the person I loved was gone. Not dead, but gone. Replaced. And I had no idea how long he'd been living this lie. But one thing was clear. He had chosen her. And he had thrown me away. He came home 3 days later like nothing happened. Walked through the door, tossed his keys on the counter, and asked what was for dinner. I stood in the kitchen staring at him, heart pounding in my chest. The anger, the heartbreak, it had built up like a storm inside me. And I knew it was time. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just looked at him and said, "How long have you been seeing her?" He froze. That was all I needed to know. He didn't deny it, didn't lie, just stared at the floor and mumbled, "It's not what you think." I laughed, an ugly, broken laugh, because that line is always what people say when it's exactly what you think. He told me he'd met her at the gym, that it started with harmless flirting, and then somehow it turned into something more. He said she made him feel young again, alive, like life wasn't so heavy. He called it a mistake, but his eyes didn't look sorry. They looked relieved, like he'd been waiting for this to come out. Then came the words that cut deeper than any lie. He said he felt trapped with me, that I'd changed, that things had become routine, that maybe we'd just grown apart. All I could do was stare at the man I thought would protect me from the world, and realize he was the one tearing it apart. I asked him to leave, not because I wanted to be strong, but because I couldn't breathe with him there. And he didn't fight it. He grabbed a bag and walked out. No apology, no regret. Just like that, 10 years were gone, and all I had left was silence, memories, and a heart that had been shattered in plain sight. After he left, the house felt hollow. Every corner held pieces of us. His shoes by the door, his coffee mug in the sink, his cologne still lingering in the hallway. I thought I'd feel some kind of peace once he was gone, but all I felt was emptiness. I walked around like a ghost in my own life, trying to remember who I was before I became someone's wife. It was hard. It still is. The bills kept coming, but the man I used to split them with didn't. He didn't even check in to see if I was okay. Not a single text. The silence became a second betrayal. It was like he had erased me from his life overnight. And to the world outside, I had to pretend I was holding it all together. People started talking. You know how neighbors and so-called friends get when they sense something's wrong but don't have the full story. Some whispered that I must have done something to push him away. Others acted like they didn't notice at all. But there were a few, just a few, who showed up. They brought food, sat with me in silence, and reminded me I wasn't alone. That meant more than they'll ever know. I cried when no one was watching, screamed into pillows, walked into the bathroom and didn't recognize the woman in the mirror. I had poured so much of myself into loving him, I forgot how to love me. But even through the pain, something inside me whispered, "Get up." I wasn't ready to rise just yet, but that whisper, it kept me going. It told me this wasn't the end, that maybe, just maybe, what felt like destruction was the start of something I couldn't yet see. I used to think revenge meant hurting someone the way they hurt you, that maybe if I screamed loud enough, embarrassed him, or got even, I'd feel better. But truthfully, I didn't have the energy to destroy him. I was too focused on saving myself. My revenge wasn't loud, it was quiet, patient, focused, and powerful. First, I started therapy. I needed help unpacking the pain and shame I was carrying. I learned that his betrayal had nothing to do with my worth, that I wasn't too much or not enough. I was just with someone who didn't value what he had. Those sessions gave me my breath back. Then I changed my routine. I started waking up earlier, walking outside, breathing fresh air. I updated my resume, applied for a better job, and got it. I began doing things for me again, things I hadn't done in years. Hair appointments, journaling, saying no without guilt. I found a version of myself I had forgotten, a woman who was bold, beautiful, and not afraid to stand alone. And slowly, I started to shine. Not for anyone else, but for me. I posted a few pictures here and there, smiling, traveling, growing. He saw them. Oh, he saw them. He started viewing my stories, liking old posts, but I never responded. That silence, that was the loudest thing I could have given him. The woman he left behind was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, wiser, and finally, free. I didn't need to clap back. I didn't need to curse his name. I just needed to rise. And I did. Turns out, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be without them. That was the beginning of my victory. I didn't hear from him for months. And honestly, I had stopped checking for him. I was too busy rebuilding, too busy healing. But one random afternoon, I got a message from a mutual friend. Just 5 words. "Girl, did you hear what happened?" My heart skipped. I asked what she meant and she called me immediately. Her voice was low, like she wasn't even sure if she should be telling me. But she did. Turns out things didn't go so well with his new little girlfriend. She left him, not even a year in. From what I heard, she moved on to someone her own age, someone with more to offer than empty promises and midlife confusion. But that wasn't the worst of it. His job, gone. Apparently, he'd been slipping up at work for months, coming in late, distracted, missing deadlines. They let him go quietly. No drama, no second chances. He lost the very position he used to flaunt like a badge of honor. And his place? That little condo he got after leaving our home? He couldn't keep up with the rent. Word was he moved back in with his cousin, sleeping on a pull-out couch, living out of boxes. No wife, no girl, no job. Just echoes of everything he thought he'd gained by throwing me away. When I heard it all, I didn't gloat. I didn't feel joy, just closure. See, I didn't need to punish him. Life handled that all by itself. And deep down, I think he realized it too. Because one night, I saw his name pop up on my phone. No message, just a missed call. I didn't call back. I didn't need to. That silence said more than I ever could. That chapter was closed. For good. Healing didn't happen overnight. It came in layers. Slow, messy, and sometimes painful. Some mornings, I still woke up expecting to hear his voice, only to remember I was alone. But with every day that passed, I grew a little stronger. I started finding joy in small things. Hot tea in the morning, music that made me dance in the kitchen, my own company. I stopped blaming myself. That was big. I realized I wasn't broken, I was just betrayed, and that wasn't my fault. I began rebuilding the woman I had put on the back burner. I traveled, read books that fed my soul, and surrounded myself with people who truly loved me. Most importantly, I forgave him. Not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Carrying that bitterness around only kept me tied to his mistake. And I was done being attached to anything that didn't serve me. I'm still on the journey, but I'm proud of how far I've come. I'm not the same woman he walked away from. I'm wiser, softer, and stronger. And no matter what comes next, I know this. I will never settle for less than I deserve again. Not ever. Eventually, the pain faded into a memory, not gone but no longer sharp. I began opening myself up to life again, slowly, gently. Not rushing into love, but also not closing the door to it. I met new people, had honest conversations, laughed again, real laughter, not the forced kind you use to hide pain. And somewhere in all of that, I realized I was no longer waiting for an apology. I didn't need closure from him. I had created my own. My peace didn't depend on anyone else anymore. It was mine. I earned it. I don't look at love the same way I used to. I know now that it starts with me, how I treat myself, how I protect my energy, how I set boundaries. If someone comes into my life again, it won't be to complete me. I'm already whole. They'll be an addition, not a necessity. I'm no longer bitter, just better. I didn't just survive what he did, I outgrew it. And in doing that, I gave myself the greatest gift, freedom. Freedom to live, to dream, to love on my own terms. The girl he left behind, she's gone. The woman I am now, she's just getting started. If you felt that, if you've been there, or if you just love a story where the strong woman wins in the end, smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a heart in the comments if someone's ever tried to break you. I turned my pain into peace. So can you.